What is up, everyone? It is that time again. It's time for another Random Comic Books review with me, Corey James. Remember, always like, share, subscribe on the Suicide Moses Productions channel to get more content. The Strange Planet podcast is on Tuesdays. The Wrestling Roundup is on Fridays. And this is obviously every Sunday morning. Last week, we talked about the easiest, quickest way to get into comic books. Collecting in general, just reading. I did not talk about something important. So this video is going to be a little two-parter. We're going to talk about digital comics. And then after we're done talking about that, I'm going to do a little review on Planet Hulk, the series. So, digital comic books. I have been always a physical media kind of guy. Like, whether it be music or action figures, comic books, no matter what, I like to have it in my hand. I like to own it. I like to be able to look at it, show it to people. Movies, especially. As of late, especially with movies, I have actually started to embrace the digital world, mainly because collections can get out of hand. They can get really big and take up a lot of room. And I had my daughter, and she likes physical things too. She likes to tear them apart and destroy them. So it was just easier to move to the digital format of those. It's more readily available, and they're not all that cool to even to show anyone, or wait till the video stops lagging. But comic books are a whole different ballgame. They are something that have history. They are something that you want to see, that you want to, you can see the age in them, you know what I mean? You can tell this has been through some hands and seen some time. But, so, here's where it's, when you're getting into comic books, as we were talking about last week, digital can actually be a really nice way to break into that. If you're looking for the volumes, like I said, if you're going to try to read Planet Hulk and you want to get into a volume, instead of spending the larger amount of money on the entire volume, there's a ton of different comic book apps now that you can get that have thousands and thousands of comics that you're only spending maybe like $10 a month on. So they can be convenient. I mean, that's the point of them. If you're doing something like I'm doing right now, reviewing, I've realized I don't have the time and the money to try to go out and search for Planet Hulk or order it online and have to wait a week to get it, to read it, to review it for you guys. I wanted to review it, so I thought, maybe I can download an app and read a whole bunch of series so that I can review it for you guys. So I guess the point of all this is digital's not so bad, but there are certain things that I'm going to want physical. Like obviously Planet Hulk was something that, I'm probably not going to find an original run of it. It's a longer series. It's like issue 92 through 105, and then another one. I'm probably not going to find those original singles laying around, So that's something that I can go digital. I had a request online to review a comic book that I've never even dreamed that I would read or have ever seen or think I would ever see. So that was convenient. I found all the volumes of that, and I started reading that. it can be convenient, and it's not such a bad thing to move into the new way of doing things. I think younger kids are used to the digital, so if that's the way they can get into comic books, they have their phone. Why not? I mean, it's better than not. But I would still suggest to work on a physical collection, because there's nothing like having the books in your hand, being able to show them to people. And they you never know when this digital bubble that we live in is going to end, and then all that stuff that you bought that doesn't actually exist, that's yours, is going to be gone, and there's nothing you can do about it, especially comic books. So with that being said, digital is a decent way of getting into comic books, but I would probably do a little bit of both. So now for the part 2 of this video, my Planet Hulk review. So I downloaded it on Comixology. I got a 30-day trial for like $2, so that's awesome. And I downloaded a whole crap ton of different series. I got the first run of Spawn. I got Planet Hulk. I got World War Hulk. I got the Volume 1 of Judge Dredd. I got the Uncanny X-Men, or not the Uncanny X-Men, the X-Men Days of Future Past first run. So that's awesome. I got a little overwhelmed, actually, with all the reading that I needed to do. But I did knock out Planet Hulk. And let me tell you what, I've seen the animated movie a few times, and I loved it. And I've seen Ragnarok, and I love that movie. And those are my two only delves into the Planet Hulk storyline. So I knew I was gonna like it, but let me tell you what, if you like either of those things, you will love the actual comic book run of Planet Hulk. It is amazing. It is so heavy and emotional and written so well, and I can see a long time ago when I first watched the animated series, I wasn't sure about why they would take Hulk in that direction, because of him being who he is for so long, being the stupid, just insanely strong monster that he was. Why they would, the second that they would take the step to get him off of Earth and get him away from everyone because he's a danger to everyone and himself, why all of a sudden then he would become more intelligent? Like, it just seemed weirdly convenient, but that's comic books. I mean, that's story writing. That's where they decided to take that character at that time. So, Planet Hulk was written by Greg Pak under the Marvel Studios, obviously. It was from the Incredible Hulk series. It was issues 92 to 105, ending with the giant-sized Hulk Volume 2, number 1, which was insanely long, but great. This is a really long, like, if you're going to read this, it's a pretty long story arc. And it ran straight into World War Hulk. So, Planet Hulk starts out with some of the Avengers, Iron Man, Doctor Strange, Black Bolt, and Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, trapping Hulk in a Quinjet and sending him into space, basically to get him off of Earth so that he doesn't end up killing everyone on Earth. And they have him charted on this destination to a planet that's supposed to just be all wilderness, so he can just live out the rest of his life, which sounds all happy and hunky-dory. It's great. Until his jet gets sucked into a black hole, or a wormhole, and jettisoned out into I can't remember the name of any of these. I'm not going to remember the name of the planet or any of the people, because holy cow, there's a ton of stuff in this storyline. But it's like Kato or something. So he gets thrown down onto this planet. He gets attacked. He's apparently, I always wondered how they captured him being the Hulk and being how strong he is, and he just gets stronger. They always capture these insanely strong beings to put him in these gladiator fights. And I always wondered, other than that chest piece, which, how do you get that chest piece on the Hulk? I always wondered why it was so easy for them to capture him. Well, apparently they explain in the storyline that whatever happens in that wormhole weakens insanely strong beings. It weakens them enough to where when they come out, they're disoriented, they're weak. The soldiers of the Red King attack and take advantage of that that's point and put that chest piece on them so that they can control them. So that's how that happens. But yeah, so they capture the Hulk, they put him in this gladiator type arena thing where he fights for the people of that empire. You start learning that this Red King isn't that good of a dude. He kind of screws over most of his people on the planet a lot and kills them for no reason, just because he can. So this is where we get to meet, the Hulk meets Korg and Meek and Brood. Brood is a part of the storyline, which he is not in the animated movie, and he's definitely not in Ragnarok. And I thought that was pretty cool. I had an action figure of Brood when I was little, and he's in the X-Men a good bit, so it's cool to see that character fleshed out a good bit, like interacting and talking and stuff. And it's funny because it's part of this bigger swarm of broods, so it has no name, so he calls himself. It calls itself No Name Brood of the Brood. But they always kill off all the rest of them so that there's only one, and then it's Brood. But anyway, so they basically just start dominating the arena and killing everyone and beating every challenge that the Red King throws at them. And the Red King actually challenges Hulk, and he cuts the Red King and shows everybody that the Red King can bleed. Blah, blah, blah. We've seen all this in the movie. What wasn't in the movie was, I think in the animated movie, Beta Ray Bill shows up and fights Hulk. Beta Ray Bill was not in the storyline. Who was in the storyline to try to stop the Hulk was someone even better. Silver Surfer, ladies and gentlemen, was just randomly being held captive, not in the gladiator fights, just waiting for them to need him to beat whoever they wanted to take down that was winning the gladiator fights. They're just like, oh, we got Silver Surfer locked up. You need to go kill the Hulk. And they also have a chest piece on him because apparently he was weakened when he came through the wormhole. So Silver Surfer comes out all badass, dressed in gladiator, using his freaking surfboard as a shield, which was awesome to see. That was so badass. Fighting the Hulk, beats the crap out of the Hulk. Probably could kill the Hulk at that point, but the Hulk picks up a spear, throws it at him, and it goes into the chest piece, which deactivates it. So now you got one of the most powerful cosmic beings of all time, the Silver Surfer, free. And rather than retaliating and fighting back now that he's free of the chest piece, he destroys everyone's chest pieces and says, now you're all free to do what you want. And he used, when Hulk sees him for a second, he hesitates to fight him because they're friends. And there's only one point in the Incredible Hulk series where they had met prior to this. And they referenced that in this. And I was really pumped for them to reference something that I actually have and I've picked up from a flea market. I do have the Hulk Silver Surfer mashup in the Incredible Hulk series, where the Hulk is wandering around the Earth and he sees a spaceship landing, and he instantly, this is early on, this is issue 48. So he sees that spaceship and he thinks, oh, this is my opportunity to get off of this planet and get away from these people. Like, all he ever wanted to do was be left alone. So even that early, that early back in the series, he was trying to get off the planet. So it's cool that when they finally did bring that point into the story arc where that he got off the planet, not by his own will, but he did get forced off the planet, that they would bring Silver Surfer in to reference back to that, where he says, you know, we met once before, we fought, but we realized that we didn't need to be fighting each other, and you wanted to leave with me. Well, now's your chance. Why don't you leave this planet with me? And Hulk says no. He really has found what he loves. I mean, Hulk loves to fight. This is what he loves. He's not a monster in this planet. He is something more, and he's doing what he loves to do. So he actually stays behind, and he keeps fighting in the gladiator fights. And once it gets too, like, they can't kill him, the Red King starts getting more and more over the top with his attempts to take out the Hulk, and just keeps killing more and more of his people in his kingdom. So once they get out and they're free, then the rest, that's where the animated movie kind of ends, is where Hulk gets cut and he bleeds on the ground, and no plants have ever have grown on this planet for a really long time. And as soon as his radioactive green blood hits the ground, a plant, like some vines, grow. So that's where the animated movie stops on a high note. Like, oh, the Hulk's probably going to rule over this planet. He's going to become king. There's plants growing. Everything's going to be peaceful and prosperous. That was cool. It was nice to see the Hulk happy for a second. But unfortunately, the story arc continues very, very long after that. So for a while they're like in a rebel group going around the planet, stopping the crazy robots, that are the wild bots and stuff, and stopping the Red King's soldiers from killing people and just doing good deeds and stuff. While the Red King sends out Sierra, the Old Strong, his like right hand lady, to try to catch them and stop them. And it never works, and they end up getting into basically a gigantic war, where it ends with Hulk fighting the Red King and ultimately killing him, and releasing an Old Strong. Obviously, Sierra realizes that he's the one who released the spikes, which are this organism that has come from outer space that basically turn people into zombies by infecting them with these weird spikes. And so there's like spikes coming out of them. Looks badass. One did try to infect Hulk, which was really cool. And there was like spikes coming out of Hulk all over the place, and you thought he was going to turn. And then he actually reached into his chest and ripped it out of his freaking chest. It was pretty badass. But anyways, after all that, once Stronghold realizes, or Old Strong realizes that the Red King is bad, she was always close with Hulk, so they kind of go together. They kill the Red King. That is all good and dandy, and then Hulk does become the king of the entire place. And him and Sierra decide to be together, and they get married, and she tells him, the marriage ceremony was really cool. They're sitting in front of like a flame, and she like holds her hand over the flame and says, "Will you burn with me?" And he puts his hand over the flame, and he says yes, and it's real cool and spiritual. And then she says to him, "You need to show me who you truly are. I need to know everything about you." And he's a little hesitant at first, and then he actually shrinks back down to Bruce Banner for the first time in a really long time, to show her who he actually is. And she like looks a little whoa, and then right when he goes to speak, she just kind of leans forward and kisses him, and then he slowly turns back to the Hulk while she's kissing him, kind of like insinuating that Banner's kind of gone. Like, this is the Hulk now. So he and her rule the kingdom happily and do it very well and try to make these peace treaties between all the different groups and stuff. And it's really cool and kind of really nice for him for a while, which is a breath of fresh air in the Hulk series. But that does not last very long. They decide to take all that away from him real quick. He's standing on his castle with his beautiful wife, and she tells him that she's pregnant now, and they're looking out over their happy kingdom and all this stuff, and the sunset's going, and it's so beautiful, and oh, tear, and then you start hearing a beeping and a countdown, and he realizes that the jet is in the laboratory being like taken apart, and the Avengers rigged the ship with a nuclear bomb to go off to actually kill the Hulk, so there was never a chance of him ever making his way back to Earth. So as he's picking up his pregnant wife, the nuke goes off basically in his face, vaporizes her, she turns to ashes in his hands, vaporizes everyone around him that he cares about, his entire kingdom. It's effing brutal, like, no fair, like, not cool, man, but I get it, the story has to go on, you can't keep him happy, nobody wants to see that for 20 issues, I guess. So this is leading into the next story arc, where the Hulk is pissed. Like, he's angrier than he's ever been. So he's stronger than he's ever been. And he says, I have nothing left. I'm going back to Earth, and I'm killing everyone. And Korg and Meek and all them that did survive, because they were on the other side of the planet, were like, yeah, we're down. These Earthlings sound like pieces of shit. We're going to go with you, and we're going to help you kill them all. So they get on a jet and shoot off into the stars and head towards Earth to kill the Avengers and kill everyone on planet Earth. So the highlights of this series definitely were seeing a different side of Hulk, seeing his intelligence grow, his fight between him and Banner, his fight to not be a monster anymore. To see Silver Surfer show up was great. They give Hulk a name. I think it's like Harkonnen Harg Halku, which is cool. Meek was badass in this, way more badass than they show him in the movie or in Ragnarok. He starts out as like a scrawny little bug thing, but once he finds his swarm, they chem, and he gets turned into the king. So he like beefs up and becomes insanely strong, like on the level with Korg and Hulk. So that's really cool. Other than that, I mean, it was a great series. If you get a chance to read it, if you see it, definitely pick it up. That'd be badass. I would like to definitely add that to my collection. But if you need to read it right now, it's on Comixology, and they also have World War Hulk, which is the direct lead into from Planet Hulk, which I did start reading. I'm about halfway through it. It's not as good as Planet Hulk, but it's still interesting. The artwork's not up to standard with Planet Hulk. The artwork in Planet Hulk is beautiful. So I would definitely recommend Planet Hulk if you get a chance. Check it out on Comixology or look for it at your local comic book shop. It'll probably run you about $35 to $40 at your comic book shop. So hopefully you find it at a flea market or something. But yeah, this was a little bit longer of an episode. I hope you enjoyed listening to me ramble about a comic book that I read this past weekend. This has been the Random Comic Books Review. I'm Corey James. Remember to like, share, subscribe on the Suicide Moses Productions channel. Tune in for the Strange Planet podcast that will be on Tuesdays with me and my co-host Anthony Zevatek. Anthony Zevatek also has his wrestling roundups every Friday. I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm also taking all my music that I've recorded of bands and of myself over the years and recently, and I'm starting to put them on the channel. So you can go over to the playlist, Suicide Moses Studio, and listen to all the music that I've recorded of these great artists that come by here in the studio and record with me. If you'd like, you can go to suicidemosespro.bandcamp.com and you can buy some music and help the channel grow. We're also on Facebook, Suicide Moses Productions, easy to find. Follow us on Twitter at podcast_strange or at Suicide Moses Pro. Yeah, so I hope you guys enjoy. Have a good week. Enjoy your Sunday.